Numbers from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show us that in 2011, 32,163 American men, women, and children were killed by firearms. That number is close to 7 times the number of U.S. combat deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan since the start of those conflicts more than 10 years ago. It is half as many who have died from diabetes, a disease that affects nearly 30 million Americans. Since 1968, more Americans have been killed by guns than in all U.S. wars combined. The numbers are a staggering loss of life.
What I have seen consistently over a fairly long career as a sociologist is that people who own guns are more likely to be harmed by them. Suicide is actually more of a problem than homicide.
Still, even with statistics like these, there comes much debate.
For every study that makes a case on one side, I can show you probably 2 that opposes that.
Recently, the chorus of "If only I had been there with my gun."
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun
Came alive following a string of highly public shootings where a gunman opened fire on unsuspecting crowds of people.
He was going up the stairs and shooting everybody just at random.
In Aurora, Colorado.
Where I heard somewhere around 3 to 4 shots.
At a mall in Clackamas, Oregon.
Share the grief of a community and the nation.
And a mass shooting that killed 20 first-grade children and 6 staff members at Sandy Hook Elementary.
If you had somebody armed on the school grounds, there would have been only a few fatalities.
Gun advocates, including one Oregon State Representative Dennis Richardson, is certain that more guns means more protection. His position is one of the most frequent arguments used to justify the need for having a gun: self-protection.
But a gun, almost by definition, is a deadly tool.
I says, I'll shoot you. Stop, don't go nowhere.
Just last week, Southern Oregon resident and gun enthusiast John Lewis says having a pistol absolutely protected him from an early morning intruder.
Who's going to stop when somebody's telling you not to move, to stay there? Unless you happen to have a gun in your hand.
A week ago, he held that man at gunpoint, waited for police to arrive.
Yeah, I'm still hyped over it.
There's no question that some gun owners have successfully used their guns to defend their property or lives, and there's no telling if statistics can determine what's best for Americans and their families. Each person's individual circumstances are different, and for some people, carrying a firearm may be a good choice. For others, it might not be.
You may be in possession of a gun at home, but if you don't have access to that weapon at the time when you feel threatened, having a gun doesn't make much of a difference.
Looking at the numbers, a Harvard research study from 2009 suggests that gun owners are actually more likely to hurt themselves or die by way of gun than use one to protect their own person. In that same study, it says 85 Americans are shot and killed on an average day. 62% of those killed die from a self-inflicted wound or by way of suicide.
If you had a gun, is it possible that it could lead to your safety or to unfortunate incidents?
There are tragic stories, that we see in the news from time to time where small children will get a gun that's not been secured properly.
And once again, there was a case of a father who had left his gun in his truck, and his son accidentally shot, and then there was a tragedy.
The CDC has been collecting data for years, but answers about gun violence continue to be researched by doctors and studied by professionals. Studies have suggested that a gun in the home makes the likelihood of homicide 3 times higher, suicide 3 to 5 times higher, and accidental death 4 times higher.
When you add all of those possible ways you can get hurt with a firearm, I think the answer to that is clearly yes. If you have a gun, you obviously are going to have more of an opportunity to get hurt with it.
Simple as that. And people say, that's not going to happen to me. Well, I've known police officers that scuffled with a desperado. Their gun was taken from them. They were shot and killed with their own weapon. It's like a knife. You got a knife, anything, any weapon you might have. You have a knife, it's taken away from you. You just brought yourself your weapon that killed you, whether it's a knife, a gun.
Here are some examples. Adam Lanza's mother was a gun collector and even took her son shooting. However, her lethal arsenal was used to unleash unspeakable carnage on the children at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Both Lanza and his mother were also casualties to those guns.
What I've done with this one is convert it into a closed bolt fully automatic.
Recently, another gun enthusiast, Keith Ratliff, a firearms expert, was surrounded by guns on January 3rd when he was shot and killed despite his skill and personal arsenal. He was unable to defend himself.
Believe the story. She's a pistol-packing soccer mom who legally carries a firearm.
Melanie Hain carried a loaded gun to her 5-year-old daughter's soccer practice. Her husband, a parole officer, ended up murdering her and killing himself inside their home. Both responsible gun owners prior to the murder-suicide incident.
Having access to guns on a massive scale, on a large scale, and then not having enough control over what kinds of guns are available, I think that does increase the risk. And of course, it is compounded by the mental health issues. Now we have gone into a larger societal issue.
We have the illusion of safety. But that is different from the actuality of it.
Other than protection from predatory criminals, some have argued that guns keep us safe from a government that could suddenly turn tyrannical tomorrow.
From my cold, dead hands.
But do guns really make us safer, or do they increase the risk that we will become victimized by them?
Like all issues in life, there is no black and white answer as to whether having a gun in one's possession, either at home or at work, can guarantee the safety of a person.
Doctors who have researched this field say gun owners should be aware that owning a gun is a decision that does not necessarily reduce their risk of being killed, just because they trust their judgment, competence, or expertise in handling a firearm.
Semi